Dear students, we are studying chapter 4 Air, and we are talking about the atmosphere of the earth. In the beginning of the chapter, we studied about the composition of the atmosphere. We studied about various types of gases which are found in the earth's atmosphere. We also studied about their importance to us. Then we also studied about the structure of the atmosphere, where we studied the four important layers, namely the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, and the exosphere. We also talked a little bit about the ozone layer. Now we start with the various elements of weather and climate. In the last class, we also discussed the difference between weather and climate. We studied that both of them talks about the condition of atmosphere. Weather is the condition of atmosphere for a short duration over a smaller area, whereas climatic condition is the condition of atmosphere which depends upon the average weather condition of a place in the last 35 years, and then we come to know about the climate of a place. In this video, I'll talk about the various elements of weather and climate, namely the temperature, the air pressure, wind, and moisture. Out of these four elements which are in our syllabus, today I'll talk about temperature. You must have observed that when you have a little warmish body, everyone tells you that you have a temperature. So you go to the infirmary where the compounder or the doctor checks your body temperature. What does he check? He checks what is the degree of temperature or the degree of hotness or coldness of your body. He uses an instrument known as thermometer. But today I am talking about the element temperature of the atmosphere. The question arises that how the Earth's atmosphere gets heated. Who provides the heat to the Earth's atmosphere? The universal source of heat and light to the Earth is Sun. Sun emits various types of rays. The rays which reaches the Earth's surface or to the Earth's atmosphere, they start warming up the atmosphere. So these incoming solar rays are known as insolation. I repeat, the incoming solar rays are known as insolation. And the rays which are being emitted out of the sun, usually in the form of short waves. In physics, you must have studied about the wavelength and how the waves move. So the solar rays emitted out of the sun in the form of short waves are known as solar radiation. And these radiated sun rays, when they are being received by the earth, we call them as insolation. The energy received by earth from incoming solar radiation is called as insolation. On average, earth receives around 1.94 calories per square kilometer per minute at the top of its atmosphere, and we call it as the solar constant. But sometimes we observe, especially in Nainital, you must have seen that the sun is quite bright in the morning, but you still feel very cold. You still have to wear light woolen clothes. Nowadays it is the May time. It is very warm, I'm sure, in the plains. Some of you must be experiencing very warm and very high temperatures nowadays. But we who are stationed at Nainital are not feeling that much warm, especially in the morning. Though the sun rays are the same, we also experience, we can see the sun rays are reaching us, it's quite bright in the morning nowadays, but still it's not very warm. And if you see the weather bulletin of Nainital, they will say that the morning temperature doesn't rise more than 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. So why it is so that the sun is so bright, the rays are there, but why it is not so warm? It is because the temperature in the weather observatory in Nainital will reach 10 degree to 15 degrees Celsius, because when we talk about the temperature in the atmosphere, we talk about the temperature of the moving air or wind under shade. And I told you the same thing in the last lesson also. Now the question arises that how the Earth's atmosphere is being heated up. Why early morning and evenings are not so warm, and in the afternoon it becomes quite warm? It is because when the sun rays are reaching the Earth's surface, they come in the form of short waves. They are affecting the Earth's atmosphere, but not in a big way. The impact is less. But once these solar rays strikes the Earth's surface, once they reach the Earth's surface, they reflect back into the atmosphere. When they reflect back into the atmosphere after striking the Earth, Earth is also known as Terra. So these reflected sun rays or the reflected radiation is known as terrestrial radiation. And these radiated waves are in the form of long waves. And this is the time when they start heating up the atmosphere. More is the distance traveled after striking the Earth's surface, less is the impact, like a torch beam. You must have seen that in the night sometimes when you come from your mess to the boarding houses, you have a torch with you. And you must have seen that the beam of the torch is very bright near the source, near the torch. As the distance increases, the beams becomes rarefied. It is not so effective. Similarly is the case of terrestrial radiation. Near the Earth's surface, the impact will be high. But once these terrestrial radiated sun rays reaches to the upper atmosphere, the impact decreases. And that is why you must have seen that the places which are near the Earth's surface, like Haldwani, is warmer, whereas the places which are located away from the Earth's surface on a hill station like Nainital are cooler. In fact, you will be surprised to know that even at equator you got mountains which are snow covered, though they receive direct sun rays. It is because the immediate atmosphere doesn't get warmed up by the solar insolation. Atmosphere gets heated more by the terrestrial radiation. So as the distance from the Earth increases, the impact of the reflected sun rays or terrestrial radiation decreases. Hence, Nainital is cooler than Haldwani. So I'm sure your concept of insolation and terrestrial radiation is clear to all of you. Let's move forward now. What are the important processes involved in heating of the atmosphere? Now this you must have studied in the physics lesson in the junior classes also, that there are three different ways. In fact, here I'll talk about four different ways in which heat energy is transferred. You know about convectional currents. Your teacher must have taught you with the help of an example where they heat up the water or any liquid in a container, and you can see that the the heat gets transferred by convection. The transfer of heat through rising of warm air and sinking of cold air is called convection. So what happens in convection? The warm air which is closer to the earth gets heated up faster and it moves up because it becomes lighter. The gas becomes rarefied, so it moves up. And on the other hand, the cool air which is heavier, which will sink in. So there is a vertical motion of the air. This is known as convection. We also call them as convectional currents. Air which moves or the wind which moves vertically is also known as current. On the other hand, you must observe that when two objects having different temperature touches each other, there is a transfer of energy between them on touching. This is known as conduction. Conduction is transfer of heat when between two bodies of unequal temperature, right, and when they come in contact with each other. The flow of energy is from warmer to cooler body. Till what extent this energy will be transferred? Till the temperature in both the bodies is not the same. The transfer continues until both bodies maintain the same temperature. The air gets heated and slowly and it heats the upper layer of the atmosphere. This process is called conduction. You must have seen that slowly the other body also gets heated up. The third form of the transfer of heat is radiation. It is in the form of energy. It is a form of energy that is transmitted in the form of waves. The energy received from sun is in the form of short wave radiation, and the atmosphere emits it in the form of long wave radiation. So radiation is the transfer of heat through gases. Then comes advection. It's a new term for you. Try to understand that it is nothing but the horizontal transfer of energy. When the energy was transferring vertically, we call it convection. When there is a horizontal transfer of energy, we call it advection. And this usually takes place in the middle latitudes. That is around 30 to 50 or 60 degree north and south latitudes. It is opposite to the process of convection in terms of direction of flow of energy, because convection is vertical, advection is horizontal. So in this way the heat gets transferred in the atmosphere. I repeat, the heat gets transferred in the four ways: convection, radiation, conduction and advection. Now let's try to understand all these with the help of this diagram. Now this gentleman is sitting and it is bright sun. You can observe it. There are some clouds also. So he is sitting on a bench and probably he is feeling that the bench is quite warm. So here the conduction is the direct transfer of heat when objects of different temperatures come into contact. So his hand gets warm because the bench is heat. Now there is a stone there. So sun rays come and strikes the stone can easily reflect the heat and he starts feeling warm. Sometimes when the temperature of the wind is high, the temperature will go up and the gentleman will feel warm conditions. But if there are some clouds in a cloudy day, you must have seen that you don't feel the sun so strong because the clouds help in diffusing the radiation. Evaporation of water from body surfaces by breathing passages cools the body. You must have seen that when you perspire, you start feeling little cold because again there is a exchange of heat. The body heats emits out. So in this way, I am sure with this diagram, all the four terms are amply clear to you. Now we talk about important factors which are responsible for the difference of insolation at surface of the earth. Why certain part of the earth remains very warm throughout the year, like the equatorial areas, and why certain areas on the earth's surface remains permanently frozen, or in other words, permafrost. I repeat the word permafrost because especially in the polar areas, you'll see countries like Norway and Sweden, they remain very cold. Down south, Antarctica is very cold. So what are the reasons for that? So we'll discuss all these factors one by one. The factors which cause variation in insolation are: A. Rotation of the earth. Rotation refers to movement of the earth around its own axis. This you must have studied in junior classes. The part of the earth which is facing the sun will receive the maximum insolation as compared to the other side of the earth. When it is daytime in India, it is night time in America because they are not facing the direct sun rays. But India faces the direct sun rays during noon time. So you can say that rotation also causes places to have different temperature at the same time. Places facing the sun will have direct sun rays and they will be warmer, whereas places away from the sun will experience cold conditions. Next important is the revolution of the earth. You know what is revolution? The earth completes a revolution in 1 year, and here also sometimes the angle of insolation keeps changing. When the angle of insolation is directly on Tropic of Cancer, we find that India experiences summers. Like nowadays we are experiencing summers, because India, the tilt of the earth is such that it is the northern hemisphere which is facing more sun rays, and the southern hemisphere is facing cold conditions nowadays. People in Australia and New Zealand must be feeling very cold, as we are facing very warm conditions nowadays. So all these differences in the temperature in different parts of the earth is due to the revolution of the earth and due to the tilt of the earth's axis, which is 23.5 degrees. This revolution and the tilt causes various seasons to take place. Nowadays India is experiencing summers, whereas people in down south, right, they are experiencing cold conditions. Third factor is the inclination of the sun rays. At what angle the sun rays are received, right? If the rays are vertical, like in noon time, they will cover less area, but the net energy received or the average energy received is high. So what happens is it's very warm during noon time. But in the morning and evening, the sun rays are vertical. They are slanting sun rays. They are covering larger area. So what is the impact? The impact is less. So we don't feel very warm in the morning and evening. So when the sun rises and when the sun sets, you don't feel very warm. It's because of the inclination of sun rays. This diagram will also clear about the concept of seasons, why different parts of the earth are experiencing different seasons vis-a-vis different type of temperature. The length of the day is the third factor which influences the temperature of a place. Nowadays you must observe that the days are very warm and also very long. You must have seen that the sun rises quite early nowadays. In Nainital it is rising at 5:30 am nowadays, and the sun sets around between 6:30 to 7 pm. So it is having a longer day. But on the other hand, in southern hemisphere people are experiencing shorter days. So they are experiencing winters. Even in Nainital you must observe that in winters you don't get too much of time to play, because the sun sets quite early, and in the morning the sun rises also late. So in winters the nights are very long. So this also causes different types of temperature at different time of the season. In summers the length of the day is bigger. In winters the length of the day is shorter. Next comes the latitude. At what latitude your city is located. If you are near the equator, you will experience more or less same duration of day and same duration of night, like at equator, right? When you have equinoxes, that is when the sun is overhead over equator, you experience equal hours of day and equal hours of night. But this difference increases when you move away from the equator towards the poles. And the last factor which I want to discuss with you is distance of earth from the sun. In physics you must have studied that when the earth is completing one revolution, sometimes the earth is closer to the sun, sometimes it is away from the sun, right? We call it perihelion and aphelion. Peri is close, helios is sun. Perihelion means when the distance between the earth and the sun is closest, and aphelion, ap means away, helios is sun. Aphelion is the time which is usually on 4th of July, when the distance between earth and the sun is maximum. Even these 2 days and these events also causes the different parts of the earth to have different amount of temperature. The sixth point which I am discussing here is the impact of land and water. You must have studied in science that liquid takes more time to get heated, and on the other hand they also take more time to release the heat. When the source of the heat is removed, liquid takes more time to release the heat, to cool down, whereas the land warms up, gets heated quite quickly, right? Because only the top layer of the land is affected by the sun rays. So it becomes very warm, and on the other hand, when the sun sets, the land also releases the heat quickly. So we find that there is a different behavior of temperature in both the material, both the matter, liquid and solid, and that also causes different places to have different type of atmospheric temperature. Places near the sea surface, places near the sea, the coastal areas, they also are affected by this nature of Earth's atmosphere, right? You must have seen that the difference in temperature causes the wind to move. Air always move, or wind always move from high pressure to low pressure. High pressure means an area with cold conditions, and low pressure means an area with high temperature. So what happens is wind always move from colder areas to warmer areas. That is all because there is a differential rate of heating and cooling of land and water. And then we briefly discuss the heat budget of the earth. I will just introduce the term to you in class 7. That is nothing but how the incoming solar radiation and the outgoing terrestrial radiation adjust themselves. That is all about the heat budget of the earth, how they maintain the temperature. The points which I discussed with you right now, we can also use different nomenclature to explain to you the concept of factors affecting or factors controlling temperature distribution on the Earth's surface. We first discuss about latitudes, that is the places near the equator will be warmer, places near the polar areas will be colder, because at the equator the impact of the direct sun rays is higher, whereas at the polar areas the impact of the slanting sun rays is less. Then we talked about altitude, and I told you about why the temperature is different in Haldwani and Nainital. Nowadays Haldwani is quite warm, whereas Nainital is quite cold. In spite of having strong sun, it is because of the height, right? That is due to the terrestrial radiation. Then we talked about nature of land and surface, that is places near the that means land surface and water bodies are having differential rate of heating and cooling, because land gets heated by convection, whereas water gets heated by convection. So the places closer to the sea will be having moderate climate. Here what happens is, during the daytime a cool breeze from the sea comes. So in spite of sun warming up the land surface or the sea beaches, they don't feel very warm, because the cold wind comes from the sea and they reduces the temperature. Hence in the daytime the coastal areas are not so warm, because they experience cold sea winds, and in the night the reverse takes place. You can see this diagram, right, where you find that in the night time the water is still warmer, because water will take time to get heated up, but land has released its energy faster due to high terrestrial radiation, and hence land surface is colder. So what happens is, when the temperature will be less on the land surface, the wind will reverse. Now it will move from land to sea. We call it as land breeze. So what happens is, on the land surface the cold wind is not affecting people, because it is moving away from them. So the nights are not so cold and the days are not so warm. That is known as moderate type of climatic condition or oceanic climatic condition. We also call this as maritime climatic conditions. So in this way we can see that the coastal areas are experiencing moderate climate because of the presence of land breeze and sea breeze. And ocean currents are also there, which affects the temperature of a place. If the area is affected by a cold ocean current, it will reduce the temperature. If it is a warm current like Gulf Stream, it will increase the temperature. So in this way, ocean currents can also impact the temperature of a place. Same goes with prevailing winds. Like nowadays, many parts of Rajasthan, many parts of even Haryana, they are all experiencing Loo. Loo is a warm wind, a local wind which blows in Punjab and Haryana, right? So as it is a warm wind, what will it do? It will increase the temperature. And if it is a cold wind like Chinook, is again an example of warm wind, but in North America. But if it's a cold wind, it will, like Fuhan, it will reduce the temperature. Cold wind will reduce the temperature, warm wind increase the temperature. So in this way, even winds can impact the temperature of a place. And finally, now we discuss the difference between insolation and temperature. You discussed about insolation. We use this word, the incoming solar radiation, and temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. So I think this difference which are mentioned in this slide can easily help you to understand the difference between insolation and temperature. As I discussed with you, we measure temperature with the help of an instrument known as thermometer. So I hope you have understood about temperature as an element of weather. In the next lesson, I will talk about air pressure. We will discuss what is atmospheric pressure, how it helps in wind movement, why certain areas are having high atmospheric pressure and certain areas are having low atmospheric pressure. In the meantime, I want you to read the spatial knowledge with the title "Do You Know" in a blue colored boxes or screen in the left corner or the right margin of your textbook. Thank you. Have a great day.